I read through all of the known accident reports.
I'm Eric Schlosser, and I wrote a book about nuclear weapons called Command and Control, and it was made into a film by Robbie Kenner.
I'm Robert Kenner, and read Eric's book. I thought the story of Damascus was an amazing story. Damascus, Arkansas, a story about a man who drops a socket and it almost, well, in a missile silo, and on top of that missile was the most powerful warhead the U.S. has ever built. And I thought that would make for a great techno-action thriller. So being a documentary filmmaker, it's fun to be able to go shoot in a missile silo and make an action film, so I was thrilled to do it. First of all, it's a story that Eric didn't know about, I didn't know about. Hardly anyone knows about the story because it was not known at the time that this warhead could have gone off. We knew the missile explodes, but we didn't know that there was a chance that this incredibly powerful warhead would go off. So it was in the national news, but only for 2 or 3 days. I think if people knew, and it really took Eric's investigation through freedom of information searches to find out that this weapon could have gone off, and there were many more that could have gone off. And to be able to tell this story about Damascus seemed like this could make for an exciting, sort of scary horror film, but actually one that's a real true story.
You know, and the issue of nuclear weapons is really important and not getting enough attention, but this is just an incredible story. I mean, you never think that just dropping a tool could lead to the destruction of an entire state and, you know, radioactive fallout up the eastern seaboard of the United States. So I was drawn to it, and I think what Robbie's done so effectively in the film is tell this minute-by-minute thriller. What happens when you drop a tool in a Titan II missile silo? And there was incredible heroism by young guys, you know, 19, 20, 21-year-old guys who risked their lives to prevent a nuclear catastrophe. So aside from any of the implications of the story itself is sort of mind-bending that something like this could happen.
It's a clock movie. It's 10 hours to see if we can save the world. You realize you're dealing with 19-year-old kids. They're working really long hours. They're in very dangerous situations. And it's Friday night. They want to get home. They thought they were going home, but they got called to another job. And all of a sudden their day gets longer and longer. They're tired. And someone makes a mistake. The difference is we all make mistakes, but the consequences of a mistake in this silo can be catastrophic. So we get to watch it. But it's through the eyes of 19-year-olds who are doing their job, and they're really good at their job. These guys are real heroes, as Eric said, but they made a mistake, and that mistake could have had unimaginable consequences. Well, I think that this film is about it, and it's in 1980, but Eric's investigations show it's really a film that's relevant today.
There are thousands of these weapons out there, about 15,000 of them. And I just came to see that every one of these weapons is an accident waiting to happen or a potential act of mass murder. I mean, I'm very critical in the book, and I think the film is, by implication, of some of the ways in which the United States has managed its nuclear arsenal. But hey, you know, we invented these machines. We probably do a better job than anyone else. So think about North Korea, or Russia, or China, or Pakistan, and the kinds of accidents that can potentially happen there. So, you know, this is just a subject no one is really talking about in the way that I think people should be. And this film, without lecturing, it's not an issue film, just in a minute-by-minute way, tells you a kind of mind-blowing story about what happens with these machines. You know, every machine we've ever invented goes wrong. But if your toaster oven catches on fire, you know, maybe it'll burn up your kitchen. If your nuclear weapon goes wrong, it could burn up your state.
You know, one thing that's, I think, really interesting is that when I was growing up, we used to duck under desks to protect ourselves from nuclear accidents. But then in the 80s, there was a real anti-nuke movement, or a movement that was very concerned by these. And at that time, we had 70,000 of these weapons worldwide. And people were very conscious of it. And it affected, you know, Reagan, and it affected Gorbachev. And today we have 15,000 weapons worldwide. So we're much safer today than we were then. And hopefully, you know, we made this film hopefully to get people to think about this issue. On one hand, in a perverse way, to entertain people, but also to get them to think about this issue and to talk about it. And if you want to keep these weapons, we can keep them, but we need to certainly modernize them, or perhaps even better, we can get rid of many of these weapons and still be safer than having them around. Opens in New York at the Film Forum September 14th. We're there for a little while. We're at the East Street Cinema in Washington. We're just being held over there. We're opening Boston, Toronto. We're opening LA at the New Art Friday, September 3rd. Yeah. Eric and I will be selling popcorn.
So the film is opening in about 15, 16 cities nationwide, and eventually be on iTunes and on PBS.
We'll wash your car if you come.
The book is called Command and Control, and it's been out for a few years. It can be purchased at independent bookstores nationwide, or on Amazon or iTunes as well.
And we'll go on iTunes. Command and Control goes on iTunes sometime in January.